Hello and welcome to Best of the Bets. My name is Christina Nicolaides and we have a jam-packed weekend for Premier League, and we're going to also be looking at the European games. I have our regular guest, Sam Dymond, who is editor of bestofthe.bets.com, and we have our bookie extraordinaire from Heaven Bets. It's Gareth Walker.
Hello. Hello.
The first game we're going to look at, Manchester United versus Reading.
Manchester United 1.14, the draw is 8.8. And Reading a 19.4 if you think they can start life without Brian McDermott with a win.
Well, I'm not sure I would have been backing that with McDermott in charge. I certainly won't be backing it now because a very strange decision at Reading this week to get rid of him. We often see clubs get to this stage of the season and really panic in the boardroom. Sometimes it pays off, but usually it doesn't. Saw something similar with Wolves last season when they got rid of Mick McCarthy and got Terry Connor in. That didn't go down well. And I think this will be a similar story for Reading because I don't know who's going to come in and help them out.
It's odd they've got no one lined up. I was expecting an immediate appointment in the sort of manner that Southampton did. Rather harsh sacking, but this is the person we've got in. This is who's going to come in and...
Seemed like
maybe we'll see another interim manager.
Well, he seemed to know that he was out after that Villa result. His body language in the post-match press conference was one of a man who knew he was on his way. Yeah. But you'd think they'd have someone lined up because of that, and there's been no appointment this week. So they go to Man United now. The odds were already against them. They've never beaten Man United in the league. And they're also a club that have conceded in every away game this season and are now playing a team that are so good at home, who have scored in all their home games and won their last 11 at home. So I can't see how they've possibly got a chance here.
It's difficult to be very positive for Reading, but I'm going to side with them here because I think that if you look at Asian handicaps, you can get with Reading just to avoid a mauling, really, and that's the way I like to go. If you go for Reading plus 2.5, so they basically just have to avoid losing by 3 or more goals, you're getting 1.9 for that, and I like that bet. And I also think that the under 3.5 goals in the match, which is 2.05, so you're getting odds against, I think that's a bet as well, really. I can imagine that it's going to be a fairly subdued atmosphere. United surely will win and it'll be job done, but United haven't been racking up 5, 6, 7 goals at any occasion, so I'm going to be more cautious.
Saturday will be the start.
I agree a lot with what Gareth says there, and there's another way I'd like to get with Reading as well. We've said before how they tend to get a lot of goals late on. They scored 15 in the last quarter of an hour of games, and I think there'll be a reaction from the players to McDermott's departure. Remember, this is a man who won Manager of the Month just 33 days before he was sacked, and he's been at the club for 13 years in various forms.
Look at where he's taking them up,
Exactly, he's victim of his own success because if he was in the Championship challenging for a playoff place, he'd still be in charge.
But I think that's why they'll be deflated on Saturday.
No, I think there will be a positive reaction from the Reading.
I think they'll want to put on something and dedicate it to him. I think they'll get beat, but just with Reading's sort of late showings, I'm going to get with Reading to score the last goal of the game.
Reading to score the last goal of the game is 3.6.
OK, we are going to move on to a relegation 6-pointer, Aston Villa versus QPR, and both teams actually won their last games.
Aston Villa are 2.3, draw 3.4, and QPR 3.5.
It's going to be a thrilling game at Villa Park. So both of these teams come into this on the back of a win. It's hard to really sort of gauge how good those wins were. They were both vital. They both needed them, but what did they beat?
I know how much you love QPR.
Well, yeah.
I might have to intervene here, I think. A start I like here. It's a long time since Villa kept a clean sheet, 18 games in all competitions, so you'd think there'd be goals, although we've looked at QPR before and thought they were fairly negative side. Where were they going to get the goals from? Lloyd Remy, 6.8 to score the first goal, might be of interest.
Well, he took his goal against Sunderland so clinically, and that's really what they've been missing. And I saw Villa play against Reading, and they were much improved with Ron Vlaar back and Yakuba Silla in midfield. They look quite compact at times, but they were still making individual errors, and it was epitomised by Nathan Baker's comedy own goal. So you think if they're going to make those mistakes this weekend, Remy is the type of man who's going to snap those up.
Yeah.
And I like both teams to score as a bet here, despite it looking to be quite a cagey afternoon. I think both teams will get on the target. And I think the key battle is going to be Christian Benteke and Chris Samba. I think this is where the game's going to be won. And just the way Benteke just looked marvellous against Reading again. And I'm going to side with the big man. I'm going to side with Aston Villa to win this.
Youth to beat experience you're going with. Villa, 2.3. I think it could end up being a high-scoring draw, actually. 2-2, which is 12.5. Shaky defences. I think it's ripe for a late equaliser.
The Villa Park crowd need to play their part this weekend, get behind their young team and spur them onto a much-needed victory.
OK. We are going to move on to Southampton versus Liverpool.
Liverpool are 1.9. Southampton 4.2 at home. The draw's 3.8.
And this is Liverpool's best run of the season now. They've won 3 straight games in the Premier League. And suddenly now this Champions League place isn't as far-fetched as we all thought. But every time we give Liverpool a chance and we're prepared to accept them being one of the top teams, it's usually when they blow up.
Basically, for the last 3 years, we've been waiting for Liverpool to develop. You look at all the shot data and they're always coming out so well in it and have been for a long time.
But you can't dismiss Southampton because they've been fantastic against big teams.
Yeah, I'm not going to dismiss Southampton. In fact, I'm probably going to back them here because for all Liverpool's good attacking play against Tottenham, they still look so questionable at the back.
Yeah, inconsistent.
Both Jan Vertonghen goals came from crosses into the box that they just failed to deal with, and there was even the chance for Sigurdsson in the second half when they failed to stop Bale. So I think if Southampton can use the width and get crosses into the box, Ricky Lambert looks someone who's going to be certain to profit. He's a 2.8 anytime goal scorer.
12 goals.
The other angle I like was Ricky Lambert. He's 7.8 to score the first goal. The other angle I like on this game is that Phil Dowd is refereeing, giving the most penalties in the Premier League this season. So I added fuel to the
does
Ricky
take an unstoppable penalty.
Yeah, he doesn't miss those.
We are going to find out what our guru, Mike Holden, has to say about this particular game.
This is a game that I think will suit Saints. I think they'll like it. With their high pressing game under Maurizio Pochettino, I think they'll really like it that Liverpool come onto them, that they come full of confidence, they'll be looking to win the game, and they won't be kind of setting the stall out to frustrate Southampton. So I think it's one of those games where the price is right. If you can get over 3-1 Southampton at home, they have been dominating every week. Virtually every game they've gone into lately, they've been dominating it, but been picked off so easily on the counter-attack. But I think we have to remember that this is the same team that beat Manchester City, barely a month ago.
So, Mike, siding with Southampton.
Yeah, he mentioned goals there. Both teams to score 1.65 or 2-1, maybe Southampton is 11.
Next game we're moving on to, it's actually the early kick-off. Everton versus Manchester City.
Doom and gloom in Merseyside, isn't there, with Everton? 3.9 to win this. The draw's 3.5 and Manchester City available at 2.
What has happened to Everton?
It looks like the wheels have finally come off. We've hinted at it for a while. We've looked at ways to get at Everton in recent weeks, and Gareth tipped up Wigan to beat them.
Yeah.
But I think what was worrying for Everton was just the fashion in which they lost that game. And
the heads are gone.
It does seem that way. As I say, the wheels have just completely come off their season now. And I despite the fact that they've got quite a tremendous record against Manchester City, they've won 8 of the last 11 meetings against them.
Yeah.
I have to oppose them this week and get with the champions, because I just can't see how Everton are going to pick themselves up after such a dismal afternoon when that was their real hope of silverware.
It's just this comedy defence, really. Jagielka missing last week, and then some ridiculous individual errors as well. City, they've only lost 3 this season. It's worth remembering they've only lost the same number of games as United, 3 in the league, and in all competitions, both City and United have lost 7. But they draw so many games, and I'm drawn to the draw again here. Everton,
12.
we've said before, draw specialists. So really, I think a draw is a good option here. I'll give Everton a chance to redeem themselves, I guess, by giving them as much credit as that they'll get a draw. 1-1, which is 6.8, although I think my main play for this game is just the draw, 3.5.
Okay, Sam?
It's interesting. I think Man City's win against Barnsley in the Cup was a very straightforward win, but it stretched their run to 4 wins in all competitions in which they haven't conceded a goal.
Yeah.
So looking solid at the back. There are injury doubts over Sergio Aguero and Carlos Tevez, but when Edin Dzeko has been called upon this season, he's been in excellent form, so I'm just going to go with Manchester City to win.
Hopefully Carlos Tevez will not be in jail.
Not the brightest, some of these footballers, are they? He's likely to be recognised if he's driving around, and it's not a secret that he's got a ban, is it?
Yeah. OK, so the next game we're looking at is Swansea versus Arsenal. Swansea lost to West Brom thanks to an own goal in the 61st minute.
I think it was more to do with the referee, wasn't it, that defeat? Some decisions going against Swansea there. Swansea are 3.3 to win this, the draw's 3.6, and Arsenal 2.2.
on the back of being the first English team to win at Bayern Munich since Norwich in 1993. And they proved just how well they can play. But when the pressure is off, because nobody gave them a chance in Germany.
But the pressure really is on to get that 4th place.
Well, I thought that it was noticeable that the pressure was on as soon as they pulled it back to 2-0 and 3-1 aggregate, and everyone thought, hello. But that's when Arsenal seemed to crumble again, and Mikel Arteta in the last few minutes.
What was that?
Yeah, and I think that's just how Arsenal do cope with pressure. So this pressure about them getting a top 4 spot and back into the Champions League is where I think they're going to start having issues. There's very little between Arsenal and Swansea, I think. They've met. This will be the 6th meeting now between the clubs in the past 2 seasons, because they played each other twice in the FA Cup this year. And there's been very little in it. I think Swansea have won twice, Arsenal have won twice, and there's been 1 draw. So Swansea have got every chance here. And for all the thought that we had about them switching off either side of the Capital One Cup, hasn't really happened. They've won their last 3 at the Liberty, and they look a very good side.
Swansea, a bit difficult to work out in terms of how are they going to be for the rest of the season. But I think they've got enough class to trouble Arsenal. And this point about the pressure, Swansea, the pressure's off. Arsenal, the pressure is very much on, and Arsenal haven't coped well with pressure. The return game of this, of course, was Swansea's great win at the Emirates, when things really came to a head in abuse towards Wenger, and Arsenal fans really discontented. I think the way that I want to play this is to go with Swansea on the Asian handicap off level balls, so the draw no bet option. Swansea are priced at 2.3 for that. So if they win, you get paid at 2.3, and if it's a draw, you get your money back. I think the draw is quite a live runner.
I think you're very wise to keep the draw on side. I actually think it's going to end level at the weekend. So I'm going to back the draw at 3.5.
OK, the last game we're looking at for Saturday, before I ask you all for your best bets, and pressure on you, Gareth, but I'll explain more when we get there. Stoke versus West Brom.
Stoke 2.5, the draw 3.3, and West Brom 3.1.
Is this another draw?
Well, West Brom have got a terrible record against Stoke. It's really they seem to be the side that have got this sign over them. They've just won 1 of the last 12, and Stoke have won 9 of those meetings. So the stats would say that Stoke should pick up their form in this game, but I don't think they will, because I just think they look so disinterested at the moment. They're just desperate for the season to end. And West Brom, since...
And who's going to score the goals for them? They've only scored 6 this calendar year.
Absolutely, they don't score, they don't create enough. And West Brom have looked really solid since Malumbu and Jakob have been back together in midfield. And Lukaku, he did miss a penalty against Swansea, but he scored again, and he's just looking unplayable at times. You'd be very surprised if Chelsea didn't want him back next season. But I'm going to go for West Brom to nick this one. But
then on the other hand, Stoke have only won once this season away from home, and it was the return game of this. So something strange there. And Stoke, for however feeble they've been, I'm going to side with them at 2.5.
How can you side with them? Stoke have been awful in 2013.
Yeah, but I don't think... Well,
they've lost 7 of the last 9 games.
Yeah, but what have West Brom done?
Well, they've picked up since they had that midfield partnership back together again.
West Brom... no, I'm happy to take on Stoke at the price.
Won 3 of the last 4 games, West Brom.
2.5 at home. Stoke by 1 goal, 3.9.
He has a right to have his own opinion. So.
He does. It's the wrong one.
OK. Right, so we are moving on to best bet for Saturday, and Gareth, pressure's on. What I was hinting earlier is that your last 4 best bets, they've all come in.
They have. I think the accumulator's paid in excess of 200 to 1 if you'd taken the last 4, Real Madrid, Galatasaray, Wigan, Fiorentina. So pressure on. I'm going to go with Reading, a Reading match, under 3.5 goals in that match, which is priced at 2.05. So hopefully be a rather uneventful game at Old Trafford. Under 3.5 goals at Old Trafford, 2.05.
OK, Sam?
I'm going to go with Southampton upsetting Liverpool at 4.2.
OK, my best bet for Saturday is Man Utd to beat Reading, and I'm going to go for 5-0.
5-0, which is priced at 11. I do hope you're wrong.
Remember, for you to place your bets, it's www.heavenbet.com. You can tweet us at Best of the Bets. And if you'd like to watch this show back, then head to www.bestofthebets.com. Join us after the break when we look at Sunday's Premier League action and some of the European games.
betting site from Poker Heaven.